said, we can get started. All right, Cam will lead us off in our opening statement, 3 minutes.
Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Cavitt. I'm a Christian, husband, father, a grandfather, and I've had the privilege the last 2 years to serve you as your state representative for the 106th House District. It's the Water Wonderland District of the Water Wonderland State. So what a privilege it's been. I'm the true candidate in this, I'm the true conservative candidate in this. I saw during COVID that Lansing was broken, and the governor called my profession and others non-essential. Does everybody remember non-essential workers? Yeah, that got me going a little bit. So it got me fired up to kind of look into serving for a higher office. And I saw the overregulation, all the overtaxing, and I've got kids and grandkids, so I decided to step up and become a candidate for the House District. I'm the only candidate running right now who has an A+ endorsement from the NRA. I have an endorsement from CPAC because of my conservative 90% voting record. I'm endorsed by the Michigan Right to Life, and I was a Trump-endorsed delegate to the National Convention in 2020, as well as got an invitation to the Trump White House to hear his environmental comments. I've accomplished a lot since I've been in the minority down in Lansing. I helped save Cornwall. I helped save the sturgeon spearing season. I helped get funding for Sportsmen Against Hunger, which will help properly manage our deer herds better and get food to those who have food insecurity, both in our district, around the north, and downstate. I helped get funding for the Wholesome Port, which is our largest economic driver in Northeast Michigan. I also helped get funding for the PACE, which is for seniors to help them get transportation to get to hospitals and medical appointments. That's going to be a game changer these next couple of years when our seniors have access to that type of mobility. I've also helped get homeless veterans funding through my position on the military veterans and state police budget. I've introduced legislation to strengthen parental rights. I've helped introduce legislation to protect our Second Amendment, increase our hunting rights, and ban sanctuary cities. I've also have a bill that forbids non-citizens from voting in our elections. I'm looking forward to taking back the majority in November and helping President Trump further his America First agenda. Thank you.
And Todd?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Nick, thank you for putting this together. My name's Todd Smalenberg. Grew up and graduated in Oscoda, Michigan. Mighty proud Oscoda Owl. Upon graduation in January 1983, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I liked it so much that I stayed. Spent 21 years active duty. And then I continued working for the government after I retired in the classified program for another 18 years. And I deployed all over the world, multiple combat deployments throughout almost every hemisphere. And then moved back home 3 years ago for peace and serenity, not to run for office. But a group came to me and asked me to run, and I said no. And so you can see that worked out well for me. So then I thought on it and I prayed on it. You know, I was asked to go to dinner and speak, and I spoke, and an older gentleman followed me into the bathroom of all places. And he asked me what happened to my leg, and I said, well, sir, I got hurt overseas. And he said, what have you been doing since? I said, well, they put me back together, so I kept going. Because I thought that's what the man upstairs wanted me to do, because I was good at it. And he goes, are you still doing that? He goes, I can't believe they've got amputees overseas. I said, sir, I'm not the only one. I said, but unfortunately, I just re-injured my back on my last rotation after we shut down Afghanistan. They moved me to Northwest Africa, and I had to have 2 more spine surgeries. And I said, you know, body just can't do it anymore after 39 years. He goes, young man, I heard you just talk. He goes, have you ever thought of running for office? And I'm not going to lie, I asked the man upstairs not to give me a sign. because I just wanted peace and serenity to be able to spend time with my wife that I was deployed a long time, 7 years in combat. Without her and watching my kids grow up in pictures, and now we're blessed with 6 beautiful grandkids and we're going to travel. But we're living in an upside down world. And we need fighters. We don't need to go along get along candidates. And I know how to fight, and I'm willing to fight. Because our kids and grandkids deserve someone to go down there and fight for us. And until we start fixing our problems with people that are taking their oath seriously, because I never went through an on-swearing of my oath of office. I busted my butt to make sure my integrity and my principles stood out throughout my whole career. I exceeded expectations. You can go to my endorsement page. You'll see all the general officers, field grade officers, and everyone else that have endorsed me. Because these men have known me for 30, 40 years. And that means a lot to me. And our kids and our grandkids mean everything to me. So we need to start fighting. If we don't fight, we lose, and we're the majority. Okay, Anheuser-Busch and Target prove we're the majority. We just have to find our voice. Going down there, placating and playing games with them and going along to get along is not working. Voting for the same people over and over again and expecting different results are not working. And so that's why I'm running, and that's what I hope to gain your votes, and look forward to all the questions. Thank you.
We will now be moving on to the moderator questions, 3 minutes per person. The first question goes to Todd. A common saying is that Northeast Michigan, Northern Michigan broadly, but especially Northeast Michigan, gets pennies in funding compared to the rest of the state. Republicans also believe in fiscal responsibility. What would you do to advocate for additional funding for the 106 while remaining fiscally responsible?
What I'd do is to encourage you to start businesses up here, get rid of mandates and bureaucracy and the red tape, right? And start being able to provide and cut down the time. It takes almost 2 years to start up a business. Our number one export is our kids after high school and graduation. You know, so trying to get more funding, no, I don't want more funding. What I want is to be able to have opportunities for people to be able to start businesses. Stop the mandates and regulations coming out of Lansing that are killing our small businesses, right? That's our root cause. It's not the funding. The root cause is we don't have jobs up here that are sustainable. That's why the majority of this district is older demographic and everything. Until we start trying to provide opportunities for our kids to be able to start businesses and our small business to be able to grow, we're just throwing money at stuff that's not fixing anything. We got to be able to provide opportunities in entrepreneurship up here. We have a lot of opportunities. You know, we can take Florida and Texas as prime examples to encourage, you know, entrepreneurs and businesses to come up here and build here. This is the winter wonderland up here. I mean, we got everything that you need, and we just got to get rid of all these regulations and the mandates and the bureaucracy coming out of Lansing and get them out of our way so our people can get good paying jobs. And then we can start providing more opportunities up here.
Same question to you, Cam.
Okay.
A common saying is that Northern Michigan, especially Northeast Michigan, gets pennies in funding compared to the rest of the state. Republicans also believe in fiscal responsibility. What would you do to advocate for additional funding for the 106 while remaining fiscally responsible?
Well, I'll go back. Thanks, Nick, for the question. Going back to the things that I've already done, things I've accomplished while I'm in office. You know, we're natural-based, agricultural, resource-based economy in our area. The DNR called the Cornwall flooding, you know, pristine, world-class fishery. So we want to hold on to that. We certainly don't want to drain the flooding. So I fought hard to try and secure some funding for that. Over $100,000 in the community goes into just that. So communities like Afton, Onaway, and Indian River, Vanderbilt, depend on their economy from people visiting the Cornwall area and into the Pigeon River Forest. So I fought for funding for that. Same with the Holson Port. We got $1.2 million to update their port. Every day that ship sits out there in Thunder Bay is millions of dollars that are lost that could be coming into our economy. So we voted to try and get that funded. Pace Alpena, you know, our folks, healthcare is a big issue in our area. You know, we don't have good healthcare facilities close by, so people have to drive. And PACE will help with that, funding for that program will get our seniors be able to go to their appointments and where they need to be in time. Why I said on the Appropriations Committee, and I'm Vice Chair of the Military Veterans and State Police, we got homeless veterans grants for our homelessness. And I worked with our county veteran services officers to make sure that our counties were included in those. So all 6, Cheboygan, Presqu'île, Alpena, Alcona, Mount Morenci, and the northern part of Oscoda are all covered with those grants. So we're hoping that could make a game change. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next question. Cam will start, Todd will follow. Cam, what do you believe is the #1 issue facing residents of the 106 that you as a state representative could have a direct role in, and what would you do to be a part of the solution?
Well, cost of goods, inflation, despite inflation's killing the district, it's killing our country, and we need to change fast. The cost of food's crazy, cost of utilities, and the cost of housing. Housing is a big deal. I have a lot of experience in the housing industry. 23 years I've been in the housing industry as both a property owner and as a realtor. If you talk to anybody in our district, our hospital presidents, our community college presidents, our school superintendents, they can't attract talent to our areas because we don't have housing to grow. So in order to grow our district, we need more affordable housing to bring the housing costs down. We need to lower taxes. When I was in Lansing, I fought for lower income tax, and we were able to get that for a while. We lowered the income tax from 4.25 down to 4.0. What does that mean? That means about $300 to $500 for everybody in this room you got to keep. However, our Attorney General did not feel that way. Right now, the Republicans are in a minority in Lansing. The Democrats control all the rest of the Senate and the House, the governorship, Secretary of State, and the Attorney General. And so what the governor wants, the Attorney General will come and be a pit bull for her. And so they roll that back this next budget cycle. So you folks won't get to keep that $300 to $500. It's going back down to Lansing for Democrat politicians to spend in their districts to fund things such as Zen centers at schools, zoos in Lansing, boxing clubs in Detroit. Very little of that goes up north, Knuckles North. There's $400 million spent in earmarks this year, and only 12 came north of our North Knuckles North, and those went to Marquette and Traverse City. So we got to be a strong advocate to allow Northeast Michigan to let them know what our funding needs there. We need to break up the bureaucracies and restore local controls, which I introduced a bill to restore local control back. Many of you might know that our townships have lost the ability to zone against commercial wind and solar farms. I'd like to see that reinstated. When we take back the majority, we'll push that bill through fast. Thank you.
The same question to you, Todd. I'll restate the question. What do you believe is the #1 issue facing residents of the 106 that you as a state representative could have a direct role in, and what would you do to be part of the solution?
Well, like Cam just said, the economy is the #1 concern for all of us. It's eating away at us, it's destroying people. They're having to pick and choose what bills they're gonna pay and what food they're gonna put on the table and not. And being fiscally conservative is not voting for SB 7 with $1.1 billion that Cam and 4 other Republicans voted for, right? Because all that's doing is causing inflation to continue. All right, so regardless of if they got a 2-seat majority or not, you don't vote for those bills that say you're a conservative, and it's not. So we got to do better on that, so that way we can drive down the cost of inflation by stopping the spending. Every economist will tell you that from state to federal level, the spending's out of control, and that's what's keeping inflation high. So until we stop spending and get our fiscal house in order, it's going to continue to drive inflation, and our families are going to be suffering. So that's our #1 concern out there, is fixing the inflation, and that's by cutting costs and stop spending. And passing all these bills that they're passing, and we're not helping when we got a handful of Republicans passing bills with them. That's ludicrous. They're lock, stock, and barrel, and yet we got members voting with the Democrat majority. And it's hurting our families, and it's hurting Northern Michigan immensely, because we're not getting any return for that. We just said that we get pennies on the dollar, and so why would you vote with them if we're not getting any return back? That pales in comparison to common sense. And so that's my biggest concern, is that we're spending our kids and our grandkids and their kids into oblivion today. Until we stop that, we're going to continue down this road and nothing's going to get fixed. If we don't have people that are going to sit on their principles and say, I'm a conservative, and vote that way, all you're doing is hurting. Because just getting roads named on bills and amendments is doing nothing for us. And then the madness has got to stop, because we're heading for a cliff. And if we don't get our house in order, we're going to go over that cliff, and our kids and our grandkids are paying for our inability to do what's right.
All right, we'll move on to our third question. Todd will start, Cam will follow. Todd, what policies would you advocate for that will help the 106th economically?
Like I already said, we need to go down there with a paring knife and start cutting government. You know, I'm all about the my tax. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that, to get rid of these taxes that we're paying over and over every single year on stuff that we already paid for and bought for. Right? And everyone's like, well, what will you replace it? What I'll do is I'll advocate to start cutting government. And that's where our cost savings will come. We got to get rid of mandates and regulations that are hurting our small businesses and making them go out. COVID destroyed small businesses. Right? We had a governor that was out of control and just ignored the Supreme Court of Michigan and used the end around from the medical side. And until we stop this, start fighting and fixing things, it's going to continue. We can't placate. We can't go out there and say what you want. I'm not going to say what you want me to say. I'm going to say the God's honest truth. All right? And that's what we got to start doing as men and women. Because our kids and our grandkids deserve that. So until we stop spending and start taking care of our citizens first, you know, we had 104,000 illegals enter the state. And we're spending billions and billions of dollars on them. And then we don't even have representatives signing on to stop it. You know, the root cause is illegal immigration. It's not human trafficking. That's just a part of the root cause of illegal immigration, or illegal aliens, because your alien is non-U.S. resident. You enter this country illegally, you're an illegal alien. We have to stop it at the root cause. And all we're doing is throwing fairy dust at stuff, and we're throwing out stuff that's not going to impact it. Until we get to the root causes and start fixing them and analyzing and having a good solid plan to do it, we're just kicking a can, folks. And that's why I'm running, because I'm tired of people kicking cans. I came home for peace and serenity to be able to watch my grandkids grow. And they ain't going to have a future if we don't stop kicking cans.
Cam, same question to you. What policies would you advocate for that will help the 106th economically?
Okay. Well, as a true Republican, I've advocated as a representative for a variety of policies emphasizing limited government, free market principles, personal responsibilities that would bolster economic growth. And here are some of the policies that I've supported. Tax cuts and simplification on business tax codes, deregulation. I would propose we roll back, first thing, right to work laws and make Michigan a right to work state again. I'm for school choice and education reform. We only have one charter school in the 106th House District. It's located in Onaway. I think there's opportunity there for our kids to maybe open up another charter school in Alpena, maybe perhaps. We need to strengthen our homeschoolers, you know. I'm 100% pro homeschooling. We need to invest in our infrastructure. We've got the Orchard Beach Bridge here in Cheboygan County. It's on a critical bridge structure. You know, I advocated strongly for that in the budget. And because we don't vote for Democrats up here, we don't see any love from Lansing. You know, we that bridge is on the critical bridge list. There's zoos that get new panda bears in Lansing, but we can't get a bridge that's so critical that our school buses and our logging trucks have to go around. They won't even cross the bridge. It affects public safety, and we're trying to get that back in here, so I will continue to advocate for that. The wholesome port, I keep coming back to that. What an economic driver that is. We need to support our jobs that are here. I'm all about gardening. We need to garden the businesses that are already located in our state and not go out and hunting for big jobs and big projects from other states and other countries for that matter. I support our agricultural community. Right now they're under a bird flu order. Maybe a lot of folks aren't aware of that, but it's the biggest health department order since COVID, and it's put onto our agriculture, our cattle, and our dairy farmers. You know, they have to spray their trucks in order. They have to have a biohazard officer now on the staff. Now our farms go from corporate farms with 100 people down to mom and pop who might have 20 head of cattle. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, and Lansing seems to think that one size fits all, and that's not true. I've advocated for more funding for our VA and for our local police departments. We helped get some language that helped fund secondary road patrols for our county sheriffs, so that was a big win to get into the budget, so thank you.
All right, we will be moving on to the questions from the candidates. 4 minutes to respond, and then the individual who asked the question will have 3 minutes to rebut afterwards before we then move on to the next question. The first question is from Cam Cavitt, and Todd will answer, and then Cam will rebut. So Todd, are you willing to look voters in the eye right now and tell them that you spent the majority of your night sleeping at the address that is listed on your voter registration?
So let me cover my residency, since that was a big topic, but no one bothered to call me before the hit piece came out, which I always like to do the little Venn diagram as the VP looks at, right? John Yobbs, Jack Berman, Tony Liss, James Hogue, Brandon Hall, Cam Cavitt. So no one called me on that. We moved back home 3.5 years ago. We had a dream. Water's very important to me. It's peace and serenity. So we built a house, but guess what's happening? Environmentalists got Gretchen Whitmer to agree to shut down the dams. Where's my representatives at on the dams? I haven't seen one of them at any of the consumers meetings that we went to. So my wife and I went to all the meetings. So they're destroying my dream, but more importantly, my $500,000 in my personal money in my house. And I'm not gonna lose my life investment. I've worked too hard at it. So last May, her and I talked after going to the last consumers meeting, and we know for sure they're shutting down the dams because you know why? The water's warming and the brown trout are dying. These are environmentalists. So we're going to shut down the dams. It's going to drop the water, and it's going to warm even more, and more animals are going to die, and fish and mammals. But hey, you know what? Gretchen Whitmer's all on board, and no one's fighting it. So we decided last May that we're going to finish up the projects, put the house on the market, and move up to Lake Avalon, where we have our fifth well right now. So forgive me if I don't want to lose my life savings, but no one had the common decency to call me because politics is a cesspool, and that's what you get. So again, I spend my time between both places because I've got projects I have to finish up before we put it on the market. And God willing, Donald Trump wins so we can get interest rates down, because I don't want to have to drop prices and everything else and lose my life money that I invested in that house. So that's my answer for my house, because no one had the common decency to call me on the phone. My phone number's out there. My contact's out there. No one had the common decency. Brandon Hall, who's nothing but is a scab. And I'll tell it to his face and anyone else and everything else. So that's where I'm at on my residency. It's legal. I changed my address last year, my voting, my electric bill, and everything else. And we're going to build out there off of Lake Avalon. So if everyone has issues with that, by all means, vote for Cam. But that's where I'm at. And if you were in my shoes, would you lose your life savings? That's the question you have to ask yourself. I'm not willing to do that because a bunch of environmentalists want to destroy this state and the beauty of our rivers and our lakes.
Cam, 3 minutes to respond if you would like.
Thank you. Todd, your military career is impeccable. I'm in awe of your service. This nation owes you a debt of gratitude. But how you've ran as a candidate for this office has kind of been beneath you a little bit. You've distorted my record. I'll just say you've lied about my record, you lie about where you live. In the church, we call that bearing false witness, and that's what it is. You don't really live in the district the majority of the time. So I will say that. I do live in the district. I actually raised my family just down the street. When they built this building, my kids were on the youth advisory board for the library here in Cheboygan. So I'm a resident of the district, and I'm proud to say that. Thank you.
And I did not lie, and don't call me a liar, please. Otherwise, then I'll be pointing out other things with lies and everything else. And everything I've said is based off of the facts. You can go to rescuemichigan.com and look at your voting record, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll be moving on to the next question. This will be Todd's question. Cam answers first, and then Todd will rebut. Why are detailed background profiles of campaign donors vital to help define candidate loyalties and credibility?
I'm proud that I have support outside of this district, that people have looked at my voting record, looked at my leadership in Lansing, looked at my leadership for the 12 years on the state board for the Train Commissioners Association, and want to come alongside and donate money into my campaign. I believe, to say that we're not allowed to take money outside the district was settled by, is it Campaign United or something? That's a Democratic talking point that's being used. So, yes, absolutely. I think we should be able to take money outside. Money is political speech. So.
3 minutes to rebut. Todd.
People in PACs, because PACs buy influence. We see influence peddling going on every single day from the highest office in this nation. $20 million influence operations from the Biden family. That's what's wrong today. Because PACs are buying our representatives and our senators. And you can see that by their voting. And that's what it comes down to. You can say everything you want and everything else, but when you can look at your voting record and look at the PACs that endorsed you and the PACs that are sending out all your flyers for $7,500 out of whack, there's so much influence operations going on today. The corruption's being done right in front of our face, and we're supposed to just sit back and just act like nothing's happening. It's all hunky-dory. And it's ludicrous that's going on. It's simple to throw out there and bring false witness when you talk about people, but we're talking about PACs that influence people's vote. We deserve better than that. Our kids deserve better than that. You can say all you want about quoting your scripture and everything else, man, but when it comes down to it, you're being influenced and you're voting based off of that. You're being bought and paid for. And until we start fixing these issues, it's going to continue. If we don't enact term limits, that's how we get rid of the super PACs and the special interests and the lobbyists and everything. But we're not going to do that because everyone likes the perks. I know some people said they like the perks. I've been to Israel a lot of times. I've been all over this world. If I never leave the shores of the United States ever again, I'm good. Okay? Because I love this country, and I gave everything for this country for 39 years, because this country deserves it. Our citizens deserve it. I took an oath to the American people and the Constitution, and our Constitution is being trampled on, and we have people down in Lansing and D.C. just continually stepping on it instead of fighting for it. And until we start electing people to go and fight, we're going to get what we continue. If you're expecting a different result with electing the same people over and over again, that is the true definition of insanity. And it's got to stop. Thank you.
Nick, I find it ironic that my opponent is being funded by a dark money PAC called Save Our Guns, with an Illinois businessman being their largest donor.
I'll stop you right there. There's no rebuttals to the questions. We'll move on to our next question. Thank you. This will be Cam's question. Todd will answer first, and then Cam will rebut. What are your thoughts on constitutional carry, and should there be any restrictions on it?
I'm 100% for constitutional carry. I don't know why we didn't get that done when we had both the legislative and the Senate. I've lived in states where I was able to do constitutional carry. And if you look at statistics from Florida and everything else, remember it was going to be the wild, wild west. And all of a sudden violent crime dropped drastically within the first year by 50%. You know, should there be some constraints on things? Sure, convicted felons and those with domestic violence. You know, if they have propensity for violence, then they shouldn't be armed, right? But every other law-abiding citizen should have the ability to be armed, because police law are law enforcement. God bless them, but it's a reactive environment. They're there after the crime's committed. It's up to us to be able to protect ourselves and our families. And these ludicrous bills that got passed last year that took effect in February, that my opponent had COVID, but Sue Aller said you can vote from the gallery. And I know a Democratic lawmaker that had COVID, she voted from the gallery on one of the bills that she thought it was that important. You know, Matt Hall voted for those bills and he was endorsed from the NRA as well. That's not boding well for the NRA, everything like that. So, you know, that's where I stand. That's what I believe in, and I believe our citizens have every right to be able to defend themselves and their families and their loved ones and their property. That needs to be as well.
Cam, 3 minutes to respond.
Okay. I'm 100% Second Amendment. I'm 100% pro-constitutional carry. I'm the only candidate endorsed by the NRA, and I'm proud to stand with NRA members. I'm the only candidate endorsed by the Michigan Responsible Gun Owners Association, or Coalition. I'm the only candidate up here who's introduced legislation to protect our gun manufacturers and industries from ESG, or social credit scores. So I have that bill introduced. We'll definitely fast track that when we take back the majority. So I'm 100% constitutional carry. I don't see how you could run up here and not be pro-constitutional carry.
All right, this is our final candidate question. This is Todd's question. Cam will answer, Todd will rebut. What criteria is used to determine when a public candidate debate is relevant enough to demand a reasonable personal schedule change to allow participation?
Thanks for the question, Nick. I am open and accessible to the public. I've had over 24 office hours that are well attended while holding office. I've knocked thousands of doors this cycle alone. We publish emails district-wide so people know my opinions. My personal email and phone number is available to the public, so I'm always within contact. And I'm always happy to attend an actual debate, such as this one. But what I won't do is show up for political stunts. Thank you.
Todd, 3 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Yeah, I was invited to 4 debates. I didn't set up anything. I did write you a letter that you signed for on March 25th requesting a debate. I asked Nick kindly when we were interviewing if he would ask you on the radio, since no replies back to me. But I was invited to 4 debates. I went to every meet the candidate that was there, so people had access to me to get to know me. Because I believe that I'm supposed to be a public servant, like I've done for 39 years of my adult life as a military leader. You know, so I don't shy away. You know, I went into the League of Women Voters. That was enjoyable and everything else. But I went for them to get to know me. You know, I believe that it's incumbent upon me as someone that's running for office to get out there to talk to you all, so you know what our stances are, what we stand for, what we believe in, what we're willing to fight for. You know, I mean, to not do that is the complete opposite of being a public servant. That's what we're signing up for. That's what both of us signed the paperwork to run, is to be a public servant, to serve the people that elect us. No one else but the people that elect us. And we should be accessible, and we should be out there having coffee hours, meet and greets, and everything else. But when you're invited to a debate, to be able to stand in front of the people that are going to elect you or not elect you, or vote for you or not vote for you, it's incumbent upon all of us to stand up and show up, so that way we can present ourselves. I think it's a travesty if we don't do that, because we're not looking at the people in their eyes and saying it. You know, and to me, that's the most critical thing as a public servant, to be able to look at the people in their eyes and tell you, you may not agree with me, that's fine. You may not vote for me, and that's fine. I'm a realist, you know. But you know what? I'm going to come out and I'm going to tell you who I am, what I stand for, what I believe in, and what I'm willing to fight for. And you can take that or leave it. That's your God-given right. And that's the great thing about being in this country. We live in the greatest country in the world. I thank God every time I came home. You know, I was so fortunate and blessed, because it's a roll of the dice. We could have been born anywhere else in this world, but we were born Americans. And that's the truly greatest gift that any one of us have. And being informed citizens is crucial, because we've been asleep for too long. And until we wake up and start seeing what's going on and start being that decider to get in that ballot box and cast those votes as informed citizens, that's the most crucial thing we do as citizens. And thank you.
All right, we will be moving on to our audience questions. 3 minutes to respond each. And Cam will be starting this question. What do you believe is the most basic and fundamental function of government?
To secure our liberties, for sure, protect our rights. Boy, what else can you say but that right there? That about sums it up. That's what government should be doing, is looking out for the people. That's it, Nick.
Todd, 3 minutes.
I agree with that. Defense and countenance. That's the role of government. That's what's written. Everything else is to get out of its way. Everything else is supposed to be regulated back to the state and down to the local level, and then eventually to the people. And we're watching Lansing take our rights away on a daily basis and telling us to sit down and shut up and color. You know, taking our rights away from the local government being able to decide what's going to be built there and what's not going to be built there, because Lansing knows best. And that's ludicrous. Lansing doesn't know best. DC doesn't know best. When I worked interagency, I lived in Northern Virginia for 9 years. You want to talk a cesspool? Washington, D.C. is a cesspool. It's a bloated bureaucracy that is just sucking our money dry and not looking out for its citizens. And this stuff has got to stop. From the state and the federal level, we need to take back, and we need to start fighting and demanding people adhere to the Constitution. Constitution is a very easy read. It's not hard. If we get back to that, we can get this bloated government under control and do due diligence with the people's money. Just think what we're going to do for our kids and our grandkids in the future. But that's what it's going to take for all of us to work together to do that and make those changes.
The second question, first to Todd. Do you believe campaign finance should come from only within the district you are running in? Why or why not?
You know, the simple question would be yes, it should be just for the district, right? But everyone has family and friends, right? So we all have relationships that far surpass the district and everything else. So, but the problem is the PAC money. You know, and that's our biggest problem is the PAC money. And you're right, I Save Our Guns, it supported me. They gave me $6,000 right off the get-go to start. And I appreciated that, because that got me, going. But everything else has been from my network of my brothers I served with and my family and everyone up here in the district. And I'm blessed and I'm humbled that people have given me that ability to go out there and do the things we're doing with our literature and our door knocking and the radio commercials and everything else. So, our problem is today is that we want cookie cutter approaches, and everything's a cookie cutter, because we don't do analysis up front in our planning. And so now here we are as this bloated bureaucracy and this dark, money that rolls down from the mountaintops and in influence operations all across there. Good men and women go there for some of them the right reasons, and they get twisted up in that money. Until we just start, peeling that onion back and looking at things and fixing things, and just do an analysis up front, and that's our problem. We just throw things at a wall anymore and hope things stick. There's no analysis being done. You know, doing what I did for 39 years in my adult life, everything started with analysis. And then we went into planning. And then we went into, you know, our courses of actions, our secondary, our tertiary, so that we had thorough plans. That doesn't happen. People knee-jerk react. We're throwing more bills out there. We're cutting speed limits from 25 to 15 miles an hour. 10,000 laws in this state. And what is it doing to its citizens? It's not doing anything for us. It's hampering us and taking our rights away. Simple things like that. You know, because we've lost our common sense. We've got to get back to real common sense. Not the niche common sense, you know, the common sense gun laws, inanimate objects, right? Do nothing without human action. Real common sense. Things that's logical, that people can sit there and go, oh, okay, I get that. Instead of sitting there and doing that double take and shaking our heads. So that's what's got to happen. And until we do that, you know, it's going to continue having all that influence on all of this state and this country. So that's roundabout way is my answer to that.
Cam, same question to you. Do you believe campaign finance should come from only within the district you are running in? Why or why not?
No, I don't. And, you know, I mentioned earlier about the Citizens United case and, you know, that being, money being free speech to be donated. But again, I'm just, you know, thankful that I have farmers and police officers and realtors and manufacturers from not just within this district, from around the state that want to support me with their finances. So I'm very grateful that, and just proud of that fact. It's very humbling when I think about it. You know, it kind of makes me emotional a little bit to think about the people who have sowed seed into our campaign, and you know, I just don't want to let them down. So we're going to continue to fight for agriculture, manufacturing, housing, but we're going to fight for all the constituents in the 106. And to, again, to assume that because I've taken money from certain people that I'm bought off is just a disingenuous statement by my opponent. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our third audience question. Cam starts, Todd follows. The state has seen increased education spending paired with grades that are getting worse each year. What reforms are you in favor of to improve the quality of education in the state and ensure tax dollars are being spent in an efficient and wise manner?
You know, I'd like to see a free market in our public school systems. You know, I certainly support school choice. I support charter schools. Those seem to have some of the most productive kids come out. I support vocational training, both in our public schools and outside. We're fortunate Mr. Tom Moran down in Onaway has a welding school that's just world class, and it's not funded with public dollars. It's funded privately, and kids graduate there, or adults can go to school there. It's not just for students or young people. You can go and start a second career welding and make a really good living, so I'm thankful for that. But one of the things that the majority party did down in Lansing when I was there is that they stripped away the school grading system. There's no metrics to tell how our public schools are doing anymore. They've just blurted. There's no way to hold people accountable. That's very frustrating to me, and that would be one of the first things that I'd work on trying to reinsert when we take back the majority. There's no accountability. You know, I guess that's where I'll stand at the moment. Thank you.
Todd, the state has seen increased education spending paired with grades that are getting worse each year. What reforms are you in favor of to improve the quality of education in the state and ensure tax dollars are being spent in an efficient and wise manner?
Yeah, it's ludicrous that we're spending, what, $24.7 billion, and we're in the bottom 10 in the nation. Clearly it's not working, and like Cam just said, they passed the law to take the grading out, so that fixed the problem. You know, it's absolutely obscene because we're watching parents' rights being eroded and our children failing, can't even read and write. And this social engineering, I don't believe in the woke, it's social engineering that's being pushed upon our kids. So I'm all about school choice. I want to make sure that's unequivocally from parochial to charters to homeschooling. And the parents choose the curriculum they want, and the tax money goes along with it because that's what the tax money's for. It's for per child, and it should be regardless of where the parent wants to send them. That money follows them with no mandates from the state. Because the parent knows what's best for their child. They decide. They put the roof over their head. They put the clothes on their back, the food in their stomach. They provide the insurance and everything else that goes along with that child. The schools don't. The teachers' union is the biggest problem we have. When we get good teachers in public schools, we should have incentive-based pay. So that way when we get those good teachers, we're rewarding them for being good teachers. And we don't do that because what do? We do like everything else is a cookie-cutter approach and think that's what's going to fix the problem. And clearly we see it's not. So, we need to sit down and understand each child learns differently. And we got to be able to provide that opportunity for those children to learn the way that they're best suited for them. And we got to find the educators that are good at doing that, or the parents that want to do that, and that money goes with them. They shouldn't be paying out of pocket for anything. If that child's going to be homeschooled like my daughter-in-law does and our daughter does for all 6 of our grandkids, then that's the parent's choice, and money should follow them so they can get the needed supplies. Everything we need to really look at what we're doing because we're closing. We got schools sitting empty, and we're still paying for them. That's ludicrous in this state when you got $24.7 billion, and our kids are failing, and we think that's okay. That's our number one thing we have to fix is our education system in the state and this country. Until we start fixing the education. And turning that away and getting back to the core tenets of education, getting social engineering out of the schools, nothing's going to get fixed because they've been very, very effective for the last almost 100 years and the dynamics of what they're doing to our education system. Thank you.
So Todd and Cam, we are a few minutes ahead of schedule. I did have one audience question saved and reserved in case we did move a little bit quicker. Would you both be willing to answer it?
Absolutely.
All right, we will start with Todd on this question. In recent times, it seems the battle cry of Republicans is to fight the good fight against the Democrats and the bad policies that the Democrats are pushing through the Michigan legislature. Since about half of the total Michigan voters consider themselves to be Democrats, how do you convince them that you are not in a war against them, but rather the leadership of their party? How do you inform them that their party leadership is not doing what is in their best interests while realizing that most of the people have no idea what the legislature is doing to them, rather for them?
You talk to them. I talked to 3 the other day in Greenbush and Harrisville. And I got two Democrats voting for me. You have an adult conversation. But, there's people out there you're not going to have an adult conversation with. They draw the line in the sand. They stake it right there. I've had people go like this at me, parades and everything else. Right? Oh, you don't want to talk to me. I'm a Democrat. Sure I do. I'll talk to anyone. Right? Because, again, I took an oath of office to the Constitution of the American people, not a party. All right, I'm a staunch conservative. I'm proud of that. I'm a constitutionalist. And I believe in capitalistic market and free enterprise. That's what made this great country. And then I ask them all the time, are you happy what's going on? And clearly, I haven't met anyone that said, no, it's great. Can we continue? But having a conversation, but the ones that are not going to have a conversation, I'm not going to waste my time because they're not going to waste their time with me. Right? But if you come out there and you want to have an adult conversation and we want to work for the betterment of this state and this nation for our kids and our grandkids, I'll work with you all day long as you adhere to the Constitution. The Constitution is a living, breathing document because of the amendment process, not because of willy-nilly. We have a different ideology and views and takes on things. But I believe in logic, I believe in common sense, I believe in research and statistics. And the facts. I don't rule off emotions and feelings. I don't believe in hope and change. Because that'd be like me going to my guys getting ready to go out on a mission and saying, hey guys, we're going to change it up, hope we don't get hit. My guys wouldn't go for that. No, so we got to stop ruling off of feelings and emotions and get back to the facts and deal with the facts where we're at. We're in an upside down world right now. And until we start fixing to trying to work to do that, instead of passing these ludicrous bills that's going on in Lansing, it's going to continue. Nothing's going to change. until we get people that are willing to go down there and start fighting. So that's where I stand.
Cam, in recent times, it seems the battle cry of Republicans is to fight the good fight against the Democrats and the bad policies the Democrats are pushing through the Michigan legislature. Since about half of the total Michigan voters consider themselves to be Democrats, how do you convince them that you are not in a war against them, but rather the leadership of their party? How do you inform them that their party leadership is not doing what is in their best interest, while realizing that most of the people have no idea what the legislature is doing to them rather than for them?
Thanks for the question, Nick. You know, I find an irony there that my opponent's willing to talk to Democrats when he sponsored a recall campaign against me when I voted ceremonially to vote for the Speaker of the House, who was a Democrat, and a fellow Marine also. However, communication is exactly what you need to do, is to communicate. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the difference between federal and state issues too. We get a lot of people calling our office about Social Security and things. So education, we're failing. Our school districts aren't teaching civics. You know, they're not teaching the role of government in its proper place. They're certainly not teaching limited government, which is what I, kind of philosophically like to do. But I'll just let that stand right there. Thanks, Nick.
So that is the end of the debate. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Cam and Todd for joining us and answering all the questions today. You might be able to chat with them for a few minutes afterwards if they stick around. If you have friends or family that were unable to attend this morning, this debate in its entirety will be airing during the normal time of WMKT's Talk of the North, which is going to be 5 p.m., 1270 a.m. WMKT. Have a great day, and thank you again.